Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
What's up, Metal Forge fans? This is Alan Bishop, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest and head distiller at Spirits of French Lick. Do you find yourself drawn to the unexplained, fascinated by the Fortean, or enchanted by the paranormal? If the things that go bump in the night resonate in your mind, then tune into my brand new podcast, If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Featuring first-hand accounts, collected stories, interviews, history, and speculation related to all things not of this world. Available now on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more. Sit back, relax, and remember, if you have ghosts, you have everything.
Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. I am Mark Jackson and I'm your host. The premise of the show is pretty simple. Awesome interviews and awesome music. If you want to contact me, hit me up at metalforgeradio@gmail.com or visit the website metalforgeradio.com. And now let's get this show on the road. What is going on, Metalheads? Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Metal Forge. How are you all doing on this crisp October Friday? I am doing just fine. Today I have Dustin Rawlings from the band Taken Lives from Louisville, Kentucky here in the Metal Forge. Actually here, and we're going to check in with him in just a few minutes. You know, these in-person interviews are really kicking ass. It's really feeling good to have a few people back in here and everything. And coming up in the near future, you're going to get a little bit of a twofer. You're going to get a little bit of an in-person interview not done in the Metal Forge, and you're also going to get a continuation of an interview from another band, from the same band actually, here soon. Hopefully by the end of the month we'll have them back on here, kicking ass, taking names, just all around. What can I say? It's awesome, and I appreciate all of you for tuning in each and every week to listen to the Metal Forge and just kick ass and rejoice in metal, you know, as it were. You know, what I say live is if you're here for speed, thrash, stoner, doom, whatever, we are all one big metal family, and metal will live forever through us, right? Hell yeah. So let's check in with Dustin here in just a few minutes. Athena is back this week with a new edition of Metal Mischief. She's like really kicking ass at these. These are she's really come a long way since the beginning, and I'm really digging it. And Jason too, for that matter. Jason's kicking ass with the Heavy Metal Wasteland, and just keeping everybody in. They're both keeping everybody informed on what is new coming up and what they're into, and that's awesome. And I cannot wait for the 200th episode, because I think we're gonna try and have both of them on the Metal Forge, live kind of a deal. Where they're both like Athena's going to be here in person, and I hope Jason can be on the phone, and maybe we could do like a little interview with whoever the guest is going to be for the 200th episode. And that's coming up really soon, because today is 194. 6 more episodes, 6 weeks. 6 weeks to the 200th episode. That is insane. It's a long time coming, and it's kicked so much ass. And thank you all so much for, listening and giving feedback when you give feedback, and just, supporting me and telling me, hey, dude, this interview was really cool. I really like this one, or I really like this line of questioning, and these questions that you asked this person. And that means a lot, and you're all sharing the posts and so much other stuff, just even clicking the like button, and I've never been one of those guys to ask to rate and review or anything like that. I think I did it at the beginning a few times, when it became a podcast, but that stuff really does help. Rate and review, get a little bit of a higher rating, so it shows up on more people's feeds. Share it when you can. Invite your friends to like the page. That just kicks ass, and it's awesome. And it is super supportive, and I love you guys for it. So go ahead. I'm rambling at this point. Let's check in with Athena. She's got some awesome stuff to tell you about.
Misfits and miscreants, bangers and mashers, deviants and the deviated, the tormented and the fermented, ghouls and goblins, creatures of the night. Jack those headphones, crank the volume to max, spark it up, and just relax. It's time for your deadly dose. Welcome to the next installment of Metal Mischief. On today's lineup, Spectrum Mortis, Bit Misery, the Incantation. In the name of Baal, the gates of hell open up and emerge Spectrum Mortis from the blistering bowels of gluttony and sin. Now, I like to throw in a little history lesson now and then. Baal is a Christian demon who is ranked as the first and principal king of hell, ruling over the East. According to some authors, Baal is a duke of hell with 66 legions of demons under his command. The term Baal is used in various ways in the Old Testament with the usual meaning of master or owner. It came to sometimes mean the local pagan god of a particular people, and at the same time, all of the idols of the land. The more I learned about this band, the more fascinating they became. So, before I dive into the album, I would like to emphasize how fucking rad I think the backstory is to this album. Bit Misery, the Incantation. It is a real ancient Mesopotamian ritual undertaken for the purpose of purging demonic forces from a home, be it like your literal home or your vessel of your body as like a home. It calls on Marduk, not the band, among other divine figures whose names provide most of the song titles on this album. So, despite the anti-evil origin, Spectrum Mortis embrace the evil connotations of evoking the ancient gods. I'm getting a little parched, so pardon me while I take a sip of my bourbon. Very appropriately named Duke, but not after the Duke as we were just talking about, but after, John Wayne, the Duke. Thank you, Mark Jackson from the Metal Forge, by the way, for bringing me a little bit of bourbon for this evening. He's a pretty swell motherfucker. Alright, back on to the business. Each band member is named after an influencer. So, to tie this all together, let's go ahead and meet the band. And of course, if you've heard me previously, I'm horrible at people's names. And apparently I'm horrible at demons' names too, because I'm probably going to butcher these. But I looked them up, I Googled them, I Google translated them. So I'm going to do pretty much what Google told me to do here. So bear with me. Here we go. Let's meet the band. Sharam, the initiator of suffering and infection. Ata, the demon of the descending of the spirit into hell. Atha, or Atha? Atha? I can't remember how Google said that one actually. But he is the phantom of ritual and process of physical death. Tau, the rising of the magical self as a ghastly energy parasite. I gotta say, I'm gonna look more into these demons because all of these are pretty freaking cool. Now, getting to know the personas are key to this dark spiritual journey that this album takes you on. As integral as each instrument is, so is the backstory and physical embodiment of each of these members. Unleashing upon us the earthbound walking corpses on September 30th, 2022, this album brings an atmospheric, blackened doom dystopia with thick smatterings of death and some seriously creepy moments with like these disembodied voices shrieking and some howling. I mean, like, it just like crawls down your spine. Part of that praise needs to go to the production of this album. Because as I found this album to be hauntingly beautiful, that was mainly because of the production quality. The tones and layers are fucking like silky. Like they're absolutely beautiful. Although you may think that this was recorded and summoned to life by some demons of hell, it was actually produced by Spectrum Mortis and Simon Da Silva, who also recorded, engineered, mixed, and mastered the album with the help of Luis Fernando Lopez at MTL Studios in Madrid, Spain, not in Beelzebub's bedchambers. Someday, I hope to see these guys perform. As from what I have read, each show they conduct ceremonies. Like, authentic fucking ceremonies. Spectrum Mortis ceremonies are authentic celebrations of the fall of light in the cult of black fire, Underball. This just sounds exciting and fucking spiritual. I mean, count me in, man. This masterfully produced album offers many enticing tracks, and it's hard to say which ones I really preferred. But I would have to say that track 3, Uanduga, I think. Oh man, I am sure I just said that wrong, but that's okay. I think is at the top of my list. I enjoyed the album in its entirety, and I suggest that you turn off the lights, jack those headphones, because this album is perfect for the spooky season. And I would dare to say a repeatable offender, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that was the nitty. Here is the gritty. I enthusiastically urge you to go pick up this album. Download it from Bandcamp, visit their website, haunt the web, check out your local record stores, or summon some demons. Unfortunately, now we have come to the ear. The ear? That's kind of a Freudian weird, music slip, if you ask me. Yeah. We have come to the end. The end? My dear Metal Misfits. So, if you have been sleeping through class, here are the rules. 5 shots. I needed 5 shots to get through the motherfucker. 4 shots. Meh. Could've used some oomph. 3 shots. Good. Made me air drum and bang my head. 2 shots. Really good. Put that shit in the glove box for traveling. 1 shot. Excellent. I'll probably have a bang over in the morning. So, shitty drum roll. I am going to give Spectrum Mortis, new album, Bet Misery, The Incantation, 2 shots! Really good! Put that shit in the glove box for traveling. Especially for the rest of October. So, until we meet again, have a most excellent time, and remember, keep it there.
Absolutely, Athena. Thank you so much. I was actually sitting in the room while she was recording that and everything, and she gets so animated. I think we're going to start... You know what? I think we need to start filming her Metal Mischief segments and putting them on the YouTube page just to see what everybody thinks about it. Because she does. She gets really animated, and it's so fucking cool. Athena is awesome. She rocks. Jason, thank you for everything that you do. You fucking rock. Maybe you could do the same thing. Maybe you could record video to your Wasteland, and we could put them on the YouTube page. Hell yeah, that would be awesome. Fuck yeah. So let's go ahead and listen to some Taken Lives. This is God Particle.
I don't think God rested on the seventh day, but now I think he reveled in his creation, knowing that someday it would all be destroyed.
Between us, present and future.
All right, Metalheads, I have Dustin Rawlings here in the Metal Forge studio. These are always really cool because when somebody can come in and talk and, you know, you're face-to-face with somebody, it just kind of kicks ass. He is in the band Taking Lives. He is the bass player. Dude, what is going on?
Oh, not much. Just enjoying the October season and the fall. It feels phenomenal, finally, that summer's over. And so just getting ready for Fright Night and all the Taking Lives has coming up. How's it going with you?
Dude, I just did a 3-shot last weekend. And we played in Wisconsin. And it was really kind of frigid. I was like, whoa, this is wild. Because, you know, here it's not that bad yet. And,
give it time.
Yeah, give it time. and up there, it was kind of crazy. And then we drove to Akron, Ohio, and it kind of got a little bit warmer. It was still pretty cold in the morning. And then Lexington on the Sunday, and it's like, wow, we're back to normal. But yeah, that whole, like, fall weather thing, that crispness is coming in. This is the first time I think I've ever, you know, not been roached out of my voice from playing like back-to-back shows and stuff. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm digging it.
Agreed. And I think with this area, especially with all like the haunted houses around here, it's just like in Caulfield and all that, and like Louisville Gore Club and the Georgetown Drive-In, all that. I feel like fall Halloween just is that much extra special around here.
Yeah, it's almost like the after school like shows that you used to watch as a kid, you know, like what is it, like Erie,
Indiana, yeah,
and where it's like Halloween Town and stuff like that. It actually all kind of makes sense.
Yeah, kind of like Hocus Pocus, where you want to walk down the street and just see everybody done up, and that's kind of how like Hillcrest or some areas of Southern Parkway are.
And I know over the last couple of years, Hillcrest had been kind of relaxed a little bit because of the pandemic and everything. But if, you know, I always say this on the show to anybody, it's like, you know, if you're in the area, come out and check this out. You definitely have to, if you are in the area for the entire month of October, always check out Hillcrest Avenue in Louisville, because Halloween on Hillcrest is awesome because the whole block does their house up.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really cool. I think we're actually, my girlfriend and I are planning on going out there this weekend maybe. And
nice.
Just really...
And actually taking the walk through.
Yes.
Because that's the other good thing about it, too, is because it's sidewalked on both sides, where a lot of the streets aren't, but that one is, so you can actually get a nice view, and it's so cool. I love this time of year just for that, because I'm a huge Universal Monsters fan. Like, same. I love watching Frankenstein every year, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, the original, like Boris Karloff Mummy, Black Sabbath. So cool, you know.
Yeah.
And I just dig it. You know, it's the one time a year that I do actually watch those old school horror movies.
Yeah, for sure. I love those. I love the 80s horror movies too, especially with like with Monster Squad, where like Stan Winston took the Universal monsters but had to play around like the copyright versions of them. So like I love the Gill-Man in that, or Frankenstein, I think he moved the bolts to the head, and the Wolfman, you know, having nards and then exploding and all that. Just all like the 80s and how crazy it is. I was showing my girlfriend Terror Vision the other day.
Oh, wow.
And just how just crazy and just off the wall that movie is.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, for every good, or probably I would say for every 10 good, like 80s horror films, there's probably another 30 bad ones that are still just as cult and good on a different level. That's like, it can't always be Nightmare 3, you know, or whatever. Yeah. But it's like, but you can have this and it's cool. Yeah, just on the same aspect.
Yeah, for sure. And more than likely, Tom Atkins is in it. Especially like Night of the Creeps is really good. Or maybe unpopular opinion, I really like Halloween 3. I mean, I know Michael Myers isn't in it, but it's still a fun, crazy movie.
I mean, people are cool to like what they like. Yeah, you know, that's one of the things I've always preached on this. Yeah. Because I'm a huge Phantasm fan. Yeah. And a lot of people that I know are not really Phantasm fans. I mean, a lot of people don't like 2 because of like James LaGrosse in it, right? And I'm totally cool with him being in there. Yeah, it's not a Michael Baldwin, but still, hey, the story kicks ass, and it makes sense in the chronological thing. It doesn't if you jump from 1 to 3, you know.
Yeah,
it's what it is. But you know what? We're totally on a tangent already, which is totally cool because, hey, total fanboy out thing here. Yeah. Take us through the story of Taken Lives.
Okay. So Taken Lives was founded in 2018 by myself and Derek Tipton. Met up with John Martin and Justin Cruz. And we really wanted to create the music that we sort of went to shows and saw back in like the mid 2000s, like hardcore, metalcore, when people were in this area were going to like Bulldogs and Pappies and all that. So more of like a kind of a Bury Your Dead, On Broken Wings, like Dead to Fall sort of sound. Right. And so we started doing that, and we recorded Volume 1 with Jordan Haynes at Early Grace.
Right.
And kind of got the ball rolling there. And it was like right when we were picking up steam, that's sort of like when the pandemic hit and then sort of shut everything down. So we've been picking back up. We've just gone through sort of a lineup change where John had to take a step to the side to focus on family. We've got Brett Griffith in now doing vocals. Our drummer JC or Justin has moved to the side to still help with Right, but we have Ryan Logston who runs Crypt Keepers podcast.
Definitely.
Yeah, so he's come in on drums, and so we're sort of gaining momentum back again and just kind of preparing for Fright Night. And just kind of working to we released Volume 2, another EP. We're going to be in the studio here again soon. Just kind of like working our way, sort of like spreading out and just kind of getting outside of this area a little bit.
Definitely. And I think that's a big, there's a lot there. So let's dissect for a second here. Obviously the change in vocalist, and huge shout out to Brett, Brett are off dead, on Instagram. Huge shout out to him. He actually did, one of Overload's, shirt designs.
Nice.
So totally love the guy. He is an amazing photographer. He is a great vocalist, and I think he suits you all really well.
Yeah.
And I'm glad when he was filling in on the show at the Metal Monday back in August, that I think it was in August, something like that. Something like that. That I know he was kind of still up in, didn't know if he was going to get the gig or not.
Yeah.
And then he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to be singing for these guys." I'm like, holy shit, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of those where we didn't want to like necessarily just be like, "You're our guy," right off, until we found something that worked. And Brett had a long time ago, when Taken Lives was first working or rolling, just kind of being like, "Hey, I really enjoy it. If I was to ever come out of retirement, I'd love to like play with you all." So when John was taking a step to the side, I reached out to him. And so we had him, we had the vocalist of Wretched Idol, Derek's death metal band, also doing vocals for us, and they kind of dual vocaled at the MagFest, the Magbar Fest thing, back in July, I believe that was.
Yep.
And then Tyler wasn't able to do the Metal Monday, but Brett was. But that's when it really clicked. I think that's when Brett was able to kind of hold his own and really just kind of dive into it. And sort of off of that, off of just personalities clicking, off of, his schedule is able to do it, just everything there just kind of lined up to where, we wanted him to be our guy.
Definitely. And I think that's awesome that, he got somewhat of a lengthy tryout period, the try before you buy kind of thing, because you guys wanted to get the right person. And I totally get that, where you sit there and you have like two or three tryouts over a couple of weeks, and then you're just like, "Hey, do you want the gig?" And then a year down the road, you're just like, "Man, what?
Yeah.
I don't want to fire this guy, but I want to fire this guy."
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's
chill
like,
out, Brett. Chill out. You're not fired.
Not yet. you know, you have to be able to click with people musically, but also personality-wise.
Yes.
You know, I've always said when you get into a van and you're just like hundreds of miles down the road, that's when you discover if you really like someone or not.
Very,
you know,
very
when
true.
you're just kind of picking at each other, you know, that you have to be able to work together off stage as well.
Definitely. And I think the big thing with that too is being a couple hundred miles down the road in a van with 5 other dudes or 4 other dudes or whatever, in my case 2 other guys. It's different from when you're in your 20s to when you're in your 40s, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Because now, like us, we're all chill. Yeah, it's like, I'm like, leave me alone for a little bit. And it's like, okay, cool, you know. Or you get the thing where it's like we drove through Chicago, and Chicago's a pain in the ass to drive through.
Yeah, all those tolls.
All the tolls for one, and just like everybody just jumps over and stuff, and you're just like, ah!
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get that aspect of it, too. And then it's like, you find out, okay, well, this dude can't drive.
Yeah.
So, there is a big dynamic of things with that.
Yeah, and it's really nice with both Brett and Ryan where they're both just really excited to be in the band, and so it just kind of lights a new fire. And, you know, not to say that wasn't there before, but with just everything coming up, with all the work that goes into Fright Night and just wanting to go back in the studio, you want to make sure that everybody's able to do it and wanting to do it.
Very much.
It very much helps with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, here's like a little bit of a anecdote of this, is like with Ryan. I was a fan of Ryan's band previous, Slit Throat Vendetta. And it still am, actually. I wish they still were doing things, because all the guys in that band, awesome, top-notch people. Things happened, they decided to split up. But a friend of mine who was actually in Deacons of Doom, before Deacons of Doom, if you've seen them, before they got together as what they were, the original idea is like, I tried out for that band. Ryan tried out for that band. We got together for like a practice, and it's just like, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And then nothing really happened.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but yeah, absolutely. Ryan is an awesome guy, stand up as well. I remember back in the day seeing all of his posts from like his Marvel Legends collection, and he's like, I got this today, and he's like showing it off and everything.
Yeah,
like,
he and I nerd
so
out
cool.
over all that, especially with like, so I've been watching the new She-Hulk and like Werewolf by Night and all that they've been putting out, and I'm just like, I really liked it, but what did you think? And like, give me like the details as far as like, you know, what comic run was this, and blah 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 blah. So to hear him kind of like geek out and go deep cut is really
cool.
Cool.
Because if anybody knows, I'm sure he is the one who knows. He's like, wait a minute, that's issue 31, and it's like, that didn't happen in issue 31. It happened in issue 36.
Yeah, it's fun though, especially like we went and saw the new Thor movie, and so to see him just like next to me, and he was just like clapping the whole time, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. And I get that way to a degree with things. I'm more that way with like Star Wars. Yeah. And I've got another friend who's that way with Star Trek, and he and I avidly talk about, you know, it's like, because we're both fans of both as well, and he's like, we're writing a song about the Klingon Empire, and I'm like, that's cool.
Nice.
Like,
yes.
I mean, I personally don't write that way, but it's like, hey, I am all for anybody who can do that.
Oh, for sure.
Because it makes it fun, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything doesn't have to be about like death and heartache and all that stuff. So, I mean,
very true.
It's nice to have something where you can kind of nerd out, and if someone gets the reference, then that's even better.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, speaking of writing for you guys. How does the writing process work for you all? Especially now with 2 new members.
Yeah, so with that, we have songs for days right now. Was drummer Justin, he writes more than any other musician I've ever been in a band with, to where he's constantly just like, hey, I was working on a riff, and he'll record it, get on like Easy Drummer, write a drum track to it, or he'll record guitar to it, then write drums to it. And it's like a 3 or 4 minute almost complete song. And he's like, hey, this is what I'm playing around with, thoughts. And it's just like, well, we could mess around with this and see what happens. But with that, we're still getting both Brett and Ryan up to speed as far as like everything that we have. So we haven't dove in too much as far as writing new stuff, but I think that'll be something around the beginning of the year, going in the middle of next year, because we're going into the studio, but it's all songs that we have prepped.
Right.
And so they're able to give their own flair to it, but it's like we have, like verse, chorus, breakdown, pre-chorus, all that, like the structure's laid out. But they'll still get to put their personal spins and flavors on it.
For sure. And I think that's one of the things what I always like to ask about is being a musician and being an independent musician, in your area, and you have a member change. And then if you continue playing the song after the fact of after that member is gone, especially a vocalist, it's like, is it like the whole taboo thing? Like, Ronnie James Dio didn't want to sing most of Ozzy's Black Sabbath songs. They wanted to write new, and I get that. But, do you have that issue as well? Or?
I don't think so. I think so right now we have 4 songs up. Because we've been just releasing them like 2 at a time, or I think this next one's going to be 3 at a time. Just the EP sort of format works best for us.
Right.
So it's like with those, it's, hey, let's do these as they are, like lyrically, and Brett's very cool with that. But as far as I'm concerned, anything that's not recorded, that's not out there streaming, sky's the limit. If you want to change stuff, if you want to keep stuff, whatever. And I think he's kind of reworked some stuff, kept some stuff the same. But with Taking Lives, everybody is pretty laid back as far as, no real ego, and that helps a whole lot.
Oh, absolutely does. And that's awesome because, like you said, and that's how I feel about a song. Once it's out there, it's out there. Yeah, you can play it different live to a degree. Like if, you cut out a part because it kind of feels like it drags live, but it's recorded that way, that's cool. But yeah, once it's out there, it's out there. I don't ever like to re-record anything personally. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the big event, Fright Night.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Oh,
because I'm looking at the flyer here on Facebook, and this is huge.
I'm so excited.
It's the 29th. It's at Our Lady of Perpetual Hops.
Yep.
And now, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on. Not only is there bands, there's also wrestling.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the first year at Our Lady of Perpetual Hops. We've been running it previously at the arena. We did 2 other years. Fright Night 2 didn't really happen because of 2020 and the pandemic and all that. So last year's was Fright Night 3, the search for Fright Night 2.
Or as Vinny from Belushi would say, Fright Night 3 would make you think it was Fright Night 2 or something like that.
I really wanted to call this year Fright Night 4, Oh My Gourd, and it instantly got just shut down. They were like, no. It's like, come on.
Now see, you say it like gourd, like Halloween.
A
gourd, because pumpkin.
Yeah.
Or like... there was a festival that we were talking with a band a couple of weeks ago. It was called Gourd in the Heart of Texas.
Nice.
It was like, so yeah, it's like that whole double meaning. But nobody saw it but you, man.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's a team effort, so everybody kind of has to sign off on it. I initially, I think, wanted to call it Halloween Hardcore, but with having the wrestling side of it, they were afraid that everyone would think that it was just hardcore matches, and we don't want that. But yeah, Fright Night, so it'll be at Our Lady of Perpetual Hops this year. The way the format works, for anyone that's never been, instead of just doing just music or just wrestling, we'll have a band play, and then after they play, we'll have a few matches. While the matches are going on, another band setting up. So then, as soon as those matches are done, another band plays. When that band's over, more matches go on. So it's a constant, back and forth of everything. So when you go to a show, the one thing that really sucks is, people taking a minute to set up. But it happens. Whereas this, it's just constantly
straight
going.
up entertainment the whole time.
Yeah.
I got to ask, just because of the format of the show.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the movie Body Slam?
Mm-mm.
No?
No.
Okay, so the movie Body Slam has Tonga Kid in it, Sam Fatu or whatever. The twin brother of Rikishi.
Yeah.
And it has Roddy Piper.
Nice.
And Captain Lou in it. So it's a movie from the late 80s, maybe early 90s.
Okay.
And it is about a manager who is a rock band manager, and he picks up a gig of managing this tag team of Piper and one of the Fatus, right? And he's like having rock and wrestling at the same time.
Nice,
like the band plays in the ring, and then they have the match, and then it's like, so yeah, it's like total like parallel here.
Yeah, nice.
It's totally cool.
Nice. Yeah, the idea started when we were initially, so Taking Lives was starting out in 2018, and then my buddy Robert Starks, or aka Mouse, we needed pictures done, so we went over to the falls and we took just standard band photos, and he was like, hey, would you want to do pictures at the arena over in Jeff? So we went over there and we just started rolling around the idea of what if we did a show. And then I'm a big Every Time I Die fan, and they did Tid the Season, where they were doing bands and wrestling as well, but it would be one and then the other. And then, like a couple hours of wrestling, a couple hours of music. And I was like, what if we just switch off? Because I was like, nobody here is like that big music-wise, and it's a lot of like, somewhat local, somewhat out-of-town wrestling, like this area, like the Midwest and all that. So what if we switch off, and then that gives us a chance to really kind of focus on everyone, and no one's cutting over anybody on time or anything like that. And then, I feel like we've been so divided politically, religiously, everything, in the world. So there's no guardrails between it. You can put your hand on the mat during a match. There's nothing really separating you and the bands. It's like, hey, we're all fucking in this together. Let's just have fun on Halloween and celebrate together.
See, that's awesome, because that whole concept of what you just said, we're all in this together, and I have totally tried to preach that the whole time of doing this show, is like, you know what? People like what they like. They are, they love who they love, whatever, no band is anybody's guilty pleasure, or anything like that. This is totally straight up, do it for the love of doing it.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. So I'm looking at the actual lineup here.
Okay.
And obviously, you Taking Lives is playing you guys. I'm going to do that here. Prayer Line. Now, I see an interesting thing here.
All right.
I see Ghost Bomb, which I love Ghost Bomb.
Yeah.
The Molotov broadcast.
So catchy.
I love
catchy.
it. Night of the Sentinels is my favorite song on there.
Yeah.
And yes, it is about that issue.
Yeah.
But Sacred Sorrow.
Yeah.
Are you all doing an actual reunion show?
So yeah, us, I guess I'm helping out with that. So yeah, they're doing a split set. Blake Lockman is who sort of set up us working with Our Lady of Perpetual Hops. He's friends with one of the owners, and then so he kind of set that up. And so with that, I was like, well, I'd be interested in Ghost Bomb playing. Prayer Line is fucking perfect for this show. They are perfect for it. But with that, being there, and then it just kind of, the ball got rolling of, well, would anyone be interested in this? And they really started pushing for it, and so they're going to do a split set, and each of the bands, I think, gets half an hour, and then so they'll split that, and I think there's 3 songs being planned.
Nice.
For that little reunion there.
Nice. See, that's awesome, because, and you all had a massive following back in the day, like in the FFC days and everything. And anybody who's from this area, you'll know what I mean when I say the FFC days.
Yeah, or the warehouse days.
Yes, the warehouse days. It's even farther back.
Seeing Dead to Fall once a month there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that alone is more than worth the price of admission, I'm sure. Because you're going to get the nostalgia group out there with that, because everybody knows it's like, wow, they're going to see that name. It's like, I haven't seen them in years. And, is the show all ages? Is it 21 and up?
It is all ages. That was the one thing that I really wanted to push, even though it is at a brewery. And they will be serving alcohol. We are still able to do it all ages.
Nice.
So that's one thing I wanted, to make sure that everyone could come. And like for our merch table specifically, or Taking Lives, I got a bunch of free candy. Or I bought a bunch of candy to have out at the merch table. I want it to be kind of a family thing. I mean, it's Halloween and all that, so I want to, push people to, like, if you want to dress up, if you want to have fun and all this, like, it's there. It's essentially a big Halloween party with music and wrestling.
Nice. And see, that's totally cool because, I know some of my fondest memories of being a kid was going to, like, the garden shows for USWA. And that's totally cool. And, being like 11, 12 years old, going with friends. And that's fun. And that's kind of like what I get with this as well. It's like, because you got these, the independent shows, and then you've got the music that goes with it. And that's really cool because your age group, and we're similar age, mid to late 30s, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah,
and
35.
Yeah. So with our age group, when they're gonna see like the Sacred Sorrow name and everything, then it's like I used to watch them back in the day, and they could bring their kids and get to experience it as well. Yeah, even though it's you say it's 3 songs, whatever.
Yeah, it's still something. Yeah, and I think with a lot of it too, I feel like, because the two kind of like groups that we have coming, so whether you're there mainly for music or mainly for wrestling, I feel like mainly with people going there for music, they may not be as big into wrestling, right? Or the only thing they know of is WWE or sports entertainment, whatever. So they don't really know wrestling, right? And so when they go, it's they're able to see it up close and, like see everybody and interact with people and stuff. And so they really end up having a great time with it. And then with people coming for wrestling, it may not be their cup of tea musically, but they're able to experience something new. So if I can kind of get one person that's, coming mainly for one thing that becomes a fan of another and, just has a good time overall, then I think that's a win.
Oh, absolutely. I do too. And obviously, you've got some awesome, independent wrestlers coming in. Cole Radrick, Trey Lamar, Billy Starks, Braden Lee, Charlie Cruel, and the list goes on. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah, Brogan Finley's wrestling this year.
I see that here. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Fit Finley's son.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah.
And you had said, before that, you had Danhausen one year, and I love Danhausen. Like, I think he is a great wrestler, and I love Danhausen, the character.
He's carved out an amazing niche for himself.
Oh, for sure. And I always love the tagline. And anybody who gets it, because not a lot of people do, is love that Danhausen.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, that's cool.
Yeah. And that's a big shout out to Mouse, where he handles all that, because he and Billy are traveling all over the U.S. with wrestling and him taking pictures and everything. She was just at the Mall of America.
Oh, wow.
Not long ago, where
Site of the first Nitro.
Right? I think that was the last wrestling show they had done there. So it's like I would have had to have bought a white shirt and just redone like the Lex Luger walkout where he just stands there. Yeah.
I remember watching that. And I remember watching SummerSlam, and he was wrestling on SummerSlam, and then like Raw the following week was preempted. Like they didn't have one because of the dog show. And that was one thing with
it always threw off their times.
It did. USA Network. Yeah. Get over the fucking dog show. I think it still does, actually. Yeah. And then seeing like Nitro on, and like Luger was there, and I was like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
And it's like, he doesn't wrestle there. And that was like the whole start of the thing.
Oh, the Monday Night Wars were fantastic.
And going back and watching like that first year of WCW Nitro, it's really fucking awful.
Yeah.
Until Hall and Nash came in and they started that going. It's just like, there was a lot of campiness there, like the Dungeon of Doom and everything. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, but that whole, like, was it 96, 97?
That was 95, 96 on like that first year, and then mid 96 is when Hall and Nash came in.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. So, like, with, like, that and that whole, like, transition, that build-up into that Starrcade and who Sting with and all that, like, it's just... While the match with Sting and Hogan wasn't all that great, you know, still, that whole build-up, like, I was just...
Well, there were a couple of limited guys.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I mean... Hogan's limited because he knew he was used to the WWE style. Yeah. If anybody out there listens to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, is Hogan's got a pose.
Yeah, this is true.
Anybody who knows that.
Yeah, just Scott Hall just being one of the best on the mic. I think his overall look is just like, you know, that like villain, like you want to hate this guy, but he's so cool.
Yeah, and you know, we're going to talk wrestling here for a minute, so don't anybody tune out, because you know, that's like the whole thing, like what you were saying, he did look like that villain, just in general, because you know, you got in that time period where, you know, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and all of those guys, you know, shaving the chest crap and all that, and even Kevin Nash doing that too. Hall didn't do that.
No, probably the best stubble in the business.
Right. He's the only one that could pull it off. I mean, the only other person who could pull off a stubble was Hogan when he went to Hollywood, and it was black. Yeah, because he mascaraed his
so weird. And then you've got DDP just, you know, permed out and just big DDP fan.
I agree. Yeah, DDP's awesome, but like that whole like early, like the 95, 94 era of DDP is just like, oh my gosh. But he was like 38 years old when he started.
Yeah, I still think he should have beaten Goldberg's streak. I think that
instead of the Booker doing it.
Yeah, basically. But it's like, I think out of all the matches he's ever had, I think DDP gave him his only good match.
Yeah, I could get that. For sure. Like the whole Goldberg thing, I love how they dissect it now. Like I'm a Cornette fan.
I like
to a degree.
Yeah, so I enjoy. I think some of his takes are hot takes for the sake of being hot takes.
Yes.
Like, it would not shock me, maybe this is sacrilege, if he and, like, Tony Khan and all of them are like, hey, we should talk about this, and then you hate this guy because you just hate this guy, so this is going to drive ratings. But I love his, just, like, his wrestling mind. Yes. I wish that he would do a podcast where it was just like, here's what was going on during this time. Like, here's the 80s. And like I can listen.
That's
to Cornette.
Why I love the Bash deep dives.
Yeah, but like I love Omega. I think to deny Omega of being an athlete is just ridiculous. Crazy. Yeah, like, you know, the dude can move, but it's just, to me, I look at wrestling kind of as ice cream, where it's like there's a flavor for everybody.
Right.
You know?
No, there absolutely is, and I mean, you could. Comedy in wrestling is a big thing, for sure. It always has been. It always will be. That's why we have characters like Danhausen and Doink. You know, the whole evil clown thing with Doink, but he was funny to a degree. You know, especially, you know, when there was the one under the ring and they're doing the mime thing with each other, and it's like the mirror. But you know, it's interesting to sit there and to see Jim shit on a lot of stuff that goes on when he produced The Christmas Creature.
Yeah. And then for him to like, so what really kind of upsets me sometimes with him is like with like Orange Cassidy,
right? Where
I think, I mean, love him or hate him, the dude got himself over.
Yeah, and that's really what it's about.
And so, you know, when he puts his hands in his pockets and dives out, like, that's got to be terrifying, you know? And then for Cornette to be like, I hope he breaks his neck or, like, busts his head open. And it's just kind of like, really? Because you don't like his shtick? Like, you're wishing death upon this man? Like,
right. Yeah, see.
That's a bit much.
I mean, you're promoting an independent wrestling show. He lives in Louisville.
Yeah.
You could send the invite.
I mean, if he wants to show up,
it's Jim at JimCornette.
Yeah. I mean, dude.
Sorry, I probably need to cut that.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to show up, by all means. I don't know as far as like who all, because there's a lot of independent wrestlers on the show. I don't know how everyone wrestling feels about him, so that may not be my call, to say let him in. But
hey,
I mean, fuck it.
Right, exactly.
I mean, if he wants to like go on Twitter and I got kicked out of this and and blah blah blah,
I do it?
That's great.
Can I do it?
By all means.
I can't believe these motherfuckers. They kicked me out of their fucking wrestling show. You motherfucker. Yeah. I can do Bruce's gym.
Yeah. I mean, it would be fantastic promotion. I will give him a Taken Live shirt and say, here you go. Here's a consolation prize.
Do it like, slap it in his hand when he said he didn't want any money, like Paul did to him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite stories of his is the Jerry Lawler incident where Lawler invades ECW. And Jim was there, and he brokered it as a favor to Chris and Tammy, because they were rebooking all of the ECW stuff. And are you familiar with the story?
Not too much.
It was where Jim only agreed to do it if Paul would shake Dennis Coraluzzo's hand and bury the hatchet with him for stealing Eastern Championship Wrestling. And so he did it, and they were supposed to work together, and then Jim's like, I don't want any money, and he ended up like calling a limo service, taking him out to Morton's Steakhouse, and all of this other stuff. And then as he's walking out the door, he slapped an envelope in his hand and just pushed him in the limo. And as soon as they shut the door, the driver ran out, like, burned out. And he had an envelope, had $750 in it. And he went back on, Heyman went back on everything that he had did for Dennis.
Yeah, nice.
Because apparently that's how Paul Heyman is.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like everybody in that industry is pretty cutthroat as far as you get like to a certain height. But maybe you have to be in that business. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think it's the thing of there's always somebody gunning for the top spot, and top guy gets hurt. You know, who's going to come up and take his place? This is
true.
And I think that's why, honestly, they pushed Cena for as long as they did, and kept him a face for as long as they did. Because in that time period, who was going to step up if he left, or if he got hurt or whatever? Yeah, nobody could. And it's just like the same way now. It's like, who's going to top Reigns in WWE right now with their roster? Who's going to step up, and who's going to be able to get that win?
Yeah,
I think honestly, if it's not the right person, it's going to immediately bury him.
Yeah, like this
Cody,
is true.
He'll get buried.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched WWE in so long.
Yeah.
I was championing AEW for a long time just because I think competition breeds greatness. And while I grew up more of a WCW guy, WWE just came on later, and I had to be in bed at 10 when I was a kid. So WCW was my thing.
Yeah, and you had the 2 hours.
So I could just do that. But with just like how they were treating wrestlers and all that, and then sort of like the allegations against Vince and how they've kind of handled that, and it's just like, man, just not really a fan. But I don't know, with like Triple H sort of doing stuff, it'll be interesting to see for me. Like, I loved NXT. I thought NXT was
before
fantastic.
Kevin Dunn and Vince took it over when.
Yeah, like basically when you had with like FTR and American Alpha and DIY and all that, like they were just tearing the house down. Like those, all those NXT like pay-per-views were.
Oh yeah, they were
good.
great.
Yeah,
and I mean, I got to go a couple of times to see NXT. I'm pretty sure you were at those shows.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, the Evansville one.
Yeah,
and then I think
yep. Because I remember seeing you at the Evansville show, I believe. Yeah, that was great. Just like it felt like wrestling when I was a kid, honestly. It felt old school. I mean, just like when Sean Spears was there.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, I would like to get back to the point where I'm able to watch WWE.
It's going to take some time.
Yeah,
because
it's just really going to take some time. And, like, I mean, even with, like, AEW right now, I just feel like I'm kind of, like, burned out right now. Where I think I saw where it's, like, it's Jericho versus Daniel Bryanson. Or Bryan Danielson. Yeah, thank you. You know, where it's, like, them again. And it's, like, that's cool. But it's, like, man, just give someone else a shot. Like, Brody King is wrestling right now. Like, would love to see him holding it, or like anybody right now.
And I would love to see, you know, and I've like championed this guy for a long time because I think he's got something. Miro.
Oh, yeah.
Even when he was Rusev in WWE, he had something. Then you could tell.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you got that the grind down from WWE about pushing him because, you know, Vince having the issue with people with an accent. You know, which sucks because that's why Cesaro never.
That's insane
Claudio.
to me. Claudio should, like, I think he would be, because to me, to look at him, he looks like a Bond villain.
Yeah, he
and
does.
The fact that he's fluent in, was it 6 or 7 different languages?
Yep.
So, like, it writes itself. He looks like he was carved out of stone.
Yeah,
and he can move.
And when they did the whole King of Swing thing with him and put him with Heyman for like a week.
Yeah.
And he was going to be Heyman's next guy, and it was just like, and then they pulled the plug immediately on it, not even like giving it a real chance. And it's like, man, he really had something.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think both AEW, WWE, I think they both have really good rosters. It's just what are they going to do with them?
Exactly, because, you know, with the trimming the fat on the WWE side over the pandemic, you know, and then a lot of them getting picked up by AEW, who they run into the same problem, is not enough time.
Yeah.
Because when you're looking at making the investment to watch something, you know, it's got to be entertaining moment to moment to moment. Same thing with metal shows, same thing with independent wrestling shows, or on Disney Plus.
Yeah, like,
it's got to be entertaining moment to moment to moment. If it's not, you're changing the channel or you're walking out the door.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm fine with some sort of lulls if there's a payoff. You know, where it's like, you know, give me long-term storytelling, and I feel like that's the issue. Whereas, like, you know, we could disagree AEW or WWE, but at the same time we're wrestling fans, and it's like, I just want
long-term
awesomeness, and I want both to be great, because then we benefit off of that.
Yeah, because we get another Monday Night War thing.
Yeah, I would prefer to not just watch like Wrestle Talk or What Culture or whatever to get like my highlights, and so.
Or in my case, cage side seats.
Yeah. And
I am totally on there at least every 2 days, seeing what happened, and you know, it to me, it's like long-term storytelling, yes, but have the payoff.
Yeah.
When it's, don't let them get in each other's face 5 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Every single week. Or this guy goes and power bombs this guy through the announce table, and it's still 4 more weeks before they actually are supposed to be on pay-per-view, or you know, whatever pay-per-view is now.
Yeah, and
streaming.
Like, give me little tastes of everything. Like, bringing back to like WCW, like, I think arguably they may have had their strongest division was their cruiserweight division.
Yes.
Back in the day. And
they were the workhorse.
Seeing people like when I was a kid, like Juventud Guerrera or like La Parca and like Ultimo Dragon, I think it's one of the reasons that, you know, their looks drew me in, but then seeing the moves, it's like the Lucha Bros now. But I think that's to circle all the way back around, kind of like with Fright Night, where we have people from all over to where we're providing a little taste of everything. You know, they're not all wrestling the exact same way.
Definitely.
And I think that's a big plus.
Absolutely. So, back circling all the way back around to that. Got off on the wrestling tangent here, which is totally cool because I love it. You've got a ton of sponsors.
Yes.
You know, Griffith Photography, of course.
Yes. Fright Night would not be possible this year without the sponsors that we have on board.
Definitely. And I will put a link to the flyer on this as well. So again, 1029 Our Lady of Perpetual hops. What's the cover?
It is 15 at the door, 13 in advance right now.
Okay.
Tickets are available online.
Okay, and we'll put a link to it.
Cool.
To Eventbrite or whatever the link is. Yeah, we'll put a link to it here in the description below. So let's go ahead and break over to some general questions here.
Okay, sweet.
And, we kind of went a little longer on the wrestle talk.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it is totally good. So we're only going to go with a few of the deck here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But to circle back to the wrestling talk.
Okay.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, God. I have had this discussion so many times, and it depends on the week.
Well, give me a top three.
So, I have kind of like a Mount Rushmore, you could say.
Okay.
So, I have a Four Horsemen tattoo.
Nice.
But I'm a bigger Arn Anderson fan.
I could get that.
He, to me, is just
the enforcer.
He's the dad at the end of the block that doesn't take shit from anybody. So, I would definitely put him up there. I would put Diamond Dallas Page up there.
Right.
I think maybe Macho Man would be on there.
All right.
For current wrestlers, I would throw Omega on there.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, can I throw two and say maybe the Legion of Doom or
Legion of Doom. Yeah.
Yeah. Ask me tomorrow and it'll be a different list.
Right.
But
For sure.
just depends because there's always, I feel like somebody that like I forget or I'm just like, oh fuck, this guy like had this match. Because I mean, for a long time I was the big CM Punk fan. And I think, current events aside, like the dude can talk better than just about anybody. And some of his matches are tops.
Right.
But yeah, I think that maybe current list for right now at 7:44.
Right. Favorite match? Do you have a favorite match? That one match that you just immediately go back to.
Oh, man.
That you could rewatch over and over again.
I'll say favorite moment in a match and then moment leading after.
Okay.
I think as much as I don't like him as a person, the heel tone or the Hogan heel turn was that Bash at the Beach.
Yes. I love
where, like to see just a nerve exposed in raw emotion with people chucking stuff. I think there's a point where Scott Hall like hits something out of the air or maybe something hits him and he uses it as like hair gel to be that cool in a situation. Just like that moment. And meanwhile, you have Gene Okerlund, who I wish was still around to do a tell-all. If we could get like, like the backstage with all that. But that, I loved the Pillman, like Heenan stuff. Like all of that.
I love that because after Heenan had the neck surgery and they told everybody to stay away from him because he's still going to be doing commentary. Mm-hmm. And on WCW Saturday night, they didn't cut it out because it's a pre-recorded show.
Yeah.
Pillman goes over and grabs him by the shoulders, and Bobby Heenan's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
yeah. So just that, like that to me, like sticks out. I mean, because they're like. What was it? All In, I think it was Omega versus Penta. Like that match, I think is phenomenal. But from just like an emotional standpoint, like seeing like what really sticks with me, I think like the Hogan heel turn, or maybe even like the Punk Cena Money in the Bank.
Okay,
like What was that like?
Is that when he cashed in on?
That was when they were in Chicago, and then like he won. Like they had that after the pipe bomb promo, and then Punk wins and like kisses goodbye and all that. That just like I've never seen wrestling in Chicago, and that's like a bucket list thing.
Oh
like,
especially if it's somebody from there.
Yeah,
and I think. LOD being billed from Chicago. And they're from Minnesota originally, but like being billed from Chicago, they had like a crazy crowd of people.
Yeah, and like hearing like I think it may have been Arn at one point where he was like they did a mixed tag or something, and he was like I hated tagging with them because they would like smack your hand so hard it'd like bust the blood vessels.
Yeah,
and it's just like those dudes are just like '80s cartoons, just like walking
Oh
into
yeah.
person.
Oh,
you
for
know?
sure. It's like watching Masters of the Universe in live action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And not the Dolph Lundgren live action either.
Yeah, right.
I will agree. Yes, the Hogan heel turn from Bash at the Beach, knowing that no one knew he was there. Mm-hmm. It was like he sat in the limo or out in the bus somewhere until it was time for him to walk out, and he had not committed to the idea.
Yeah.
And it was messed up. And later on, Tony Schiavone hates Bobby Heenan to this day because of when Hogan walks out.
Yeah, he's like, who is he here for? Or
Yeah,
something
he's like,
who's
but whose side is he on? That's all he said. And he gave away. Tony said that Bobby gave it away on commentary.
Yeah.
And he like hates him to this day. But my favorite moment in wrestling is the sign off from that same show, and it's the last words that are spoken on there, and it's Tony Schiavone saying, "Hulk Hogan, you can go to hell."
It's so good. It's so good.
I send that to a friend of mine like every so often, where it's just like a screen grab of it. And it's like Hulk Hogan, because he's a Hogan mark.
Yeah.
He's like, you can go to hell.
Yeah. I don't know. Just something about that time period to me.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's just like the nostalgia, but it's just like everything was just
Everything
magical.
clicked on all
Yeah,
cylinders.
Yeah.
Definitely. Moving on, what is the first band that you discovered on your own?
Oh, man. Oh, I don't know as far as on my own. So I remember back in like the early 2000s going to like Ear Ecstasy.
Okay.
And that was kind of my like
Right.
discovery of, or not really discovery, but it's like getting introduced to like hardcore and everything. I don't really know of a band that I discovered on my own. That's kind of hard. I can tell you who got me into metal, which was Metallica.
Okay.
But they were kind of my gateway, listening to Injustice for All.
Okay.
And then I want to say it was maybe like On Broken Wings that got me more into like the hardcore and stuff. I had friends that introduced me to it, but it was like high school for me was just sort of like going to Your Ecstasy and not really having like bills to pay at the time.
Right.
And then just like, let me get this CD and like, you know, and this and that. And then going to see bands like Year of Desolation at Bulldogs back in the day, and
Right.
or Three Nails for a False Prophet at, what was it, the Keswick Club,
Yeah.
or American Legion, and just
Oh yeah,
all those.
Back in the day, those shows like Keswick Democratic Club, the American Legion shows, you know, awesome stuff. Bulldogs, I mean, yeah, it's a little less to be desired.
I mean, same.
It was a good place, but
Yeah.
it was, you know, Darren out there. I think the last two times we played there, we made $20 each time, and it's like, and yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, going to like Pappy's back in the day and
Oh, yeah.
seeing like, so I was a big like Eulogy Records mark, so like seeing Remembering Never coming through, or like when Glass Casket, Nodes Vranvier came through, and just being like a very like impressionable, you know, youth, and also, you know, won't go into it, but like going through a lot of family stuff, and so like discovering hardcore, discovering straight edge, all that, and just like feeling a community
Right.
in hardcore and aggressive music and all that. I think that's been my biggest thing, is just to kind of replicate that and to just kind of give that to anyone else that may be struggling with anything under the sun.
Definitely. Hell yeah. What is the most important thing you carry with you at all times?
Even though I love to be away from it, probably my phone. I feel like it's
Understandable.
my lifeline to everyone else. Or, you know, like, it's how to get in touch. But at the same time, I love when I don't have it. So, probably my phone. As much as I kind of hate that answer.
I get that, because it's, you know, it's again, it's separation of, you know, you got to get away from it. You know, taking breaks from social media is a
Yeah.
big thing.
Yeah,
you know?
I work social media, so being away from it is great.
Yes.
Great.
For sure. What famous person's memoir would you like to read? Or audiobook?
Or audiobook. So I'm a massive may be an understatement. I'm a massive Jurassic Park fan. So getting in like Spielberg's head.
Ooh.
And then on top of that,
because
with
he doesn't
being
do commentary tracks.
with him doing Jaws, with him doing E.T., with being at like the forefront of everything, it would be cool to see what he hasn't put out. Like what was pitched that like we haven't seen.
Right.
And then like having a hand in like Universal and like all these other things. Like what are the discussions that like he and Lucas have?
Oh yeah.
Or like he and
Because
Crichton,
that whole
or, like,
best friend thing.
Yeah, or like John Williams and all that. Anybody like that, or with that, or like a John Carpenter. Like I love The Thing, the 1982 thing. So it's like either of those, I am all down for.
Definitely. So one more question.
Okay.
But before we get into it, as always, links are listed below. So please give a like, a share, and a follow. We're talking about social media again. And, just support in any way you can because everybody needs it. These dudes kick ass. They're all stand-up people. Do you have any shout-outs you want to give today before we go?
Yeah, I will shout out everyone in the BSB camp. All of Taken Lives and our crew, friends and all that. My amazing, beautiful girlfriend who has listened to me talk about Fright Night and everything a million times over and not slit my throat in my sleep yet. So
I'm
thank
glad you put yet in there.
patience and understanding with that.
For sure. Absolutely. And again, Our Lady of Perpetual Hops, the 29th, what time?
I believe doors are at 6:45, bell time 7:30.
Awesome. And 13 in advance, 15 day of. Mm-hmm. Go out, check it out. If you're in the area, it's going to kick ass. Final question of the day. Dun, dun, dun. What was the worst time you ever put your foot in your mouth, and what did you say?
Oh, man. I'm trying to think of a moment that comes to me when I'm like showering or like about to fall asleep. I don't really know off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure I've said some stupid, ignorant stuff, but
we all have.
Hopefully, I've grown from that. I'm not really sure, honestly.
Okay. No, it happens.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm far from a perfect individual, but hopefully I've grown from whatever.
Well, and that's the thing too, not remembering something like that might actually be a sign of saying, that you have felt forgiven for it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Definitely. Dude, Dustin, thank you so much for coming in this week. This has kicked ass. This has been one of my favorite conversations. They're all my favorite conversation, but this, getting to talk about wrestling and everything, and Bret Hart forever, except for crotchety old Bret Hart.
I do love Bret Hart though.
Yeah, I know, me too.
More reason to not like Goldberg.
More reason to not like Goldberg. Damn right. Who's next? Right. Not you, pal.
No one.
So, what are we playing out today from the songs that you sent me?
Let's end it with Latchkey Kids. It's normally our set ender, so why don't we end this with Latchkey Kids?
Awesome. You heard him. This is from Taken Lives. This is Latchkey Kids.
nobody ever saw me. Even I didn't know if I really existed.
Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code MetalForge to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now. Since 2013, there has been a calling from the underground, from the graves of all those unholy, and they decided to make a zine to talk about all of this. Soul Grinder Zine, an independent metal zine to keep you informed on all things metal and horror from the underground. Available in both print and digital formats, they're bringing you the best interviews and reviews out there today. Not only do they do the zine, but they also do compilation CDs. Check them out at facebook.com/soulgrinder.zine and start your subscription now. Hey Metalheads, it's with great pleasure I get to tell you guys about a new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Ageless Art, New Albany. After 20 years of owning and operating Ageless Art in Clarksville, Indiana, Phil Garrett had a vision for a new type of tattoo studio. Something that is clean and modern, sleek, refined, inviting. And he's done just that with Ageless Art in New Albany. You can find it at 2736 Charlestown Road, New Albany, Indiana, 47150. Business hours are Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays are 12 to 6. All sessions are appointment only, so give them a call and go get you some new ink. Or if it's your first time, go get your first one, baby. Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code MetalForge10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com.
Hey guys, Wrestling Steve of the Wrestling Steve Show here. So if you're currently listening to the Metal Forge with Mark Jackson, then you understand that Mark Jackson has a pretty discerning taste when it comes to music as a whole. You'll also understand that he has a discerning taste for professional wrestling, just like me. My show is called the Wrestling Steve Show. I talk about modern and classic pro wrestling in a completely unbiased, unfiltered way. Be sure to check me out on all available podcasting platforms. That is the Wrestling Steve Show. And I am the host, Wrestling Steve. Just remember, like Confucius said, man who goes through turnstile in Thailand is going to Bangkok. Pro wrestling.
It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast. We're on season 2, so you have a whole season to get weird with Frank Green and Scott Clark. The best part is there's always laughter.
Oh, yeah, you just pull that out.
We have national touring comedians, NFL stars, rock stars, your local friends. It always gets weird. Weird answers.
Have y'all ever snorted coke off of a 78 Pinto? No? You ain't no man.
Weird questions.
Who had a bigger cocaine habit, Jock Sutherland or Kaywood Ledford?
Neither one, because they stopped beating their wives.
And weird we never even thought of.
Well, no. My friend is on acid, and I sent my friend to go find a payphone so that I can call and turn myself in for murdering this guy and ruin my life.
We love all types of people, but we don't love all people.
Weird. It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast. Available everywhere. And thank you to Big X Sports Radio for being a proud sponsor of It's Gonna Get Weird. Frank Green, Scott Clark. Yeah.
Hey, thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of the Metal Forge. I want to take a minute to remind you guys about the Patreon page. Over on the Patreon page, we have the tiers set up to support the production of the show. We feature the Down and Dirty, which is just $1. There's nothing special for that one, it just sends me a thank you because every dollar helps. Then there's the Double Down and Dirty. Much akin to the Down and Dirty tier, everything helps produce the show in the end. You make your presence known, and I appreciate that more than you realize. Thank you for being a dedicated friend and supporter of the Metal Forge. By selecting that tier, you will receive some cool Metal Forge stickers in your mailbox. Now, we're really going to start pounding the metal madness with the Apprentice Metalhead for just $5 a month. By becoming an Apprentice Metalhead, you'll be given early access to the shows, published 24 hours before everyone else gets it. You're also going to receive 3 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You're also going to receive a 10% discount on all Metal Forge merch, and you're going to receive a sweet Metal Forge patch for your battle jacket or backpack. And now, here is the big one. This is the Master Metalhead for just $10 a month. By becoming a Master Metalhead, you will receive a hand-numbered Metal Forge Master Metalhead membership card. You're going to be given early access to the shows as well, with 36 hours before everyone else. You're going to receive 5 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You'll be able to submit audio questions that I will use on the show of you asking questions to the upcoming guests. Remember, timing is everything, and you will need to keep up with the upcoming guest list on the website. You're also going to receive advanced knowledge of any new merch coming out and be given a 25% discount on all Metal Forge merch. And you're also going to get all of the other rewards from the other tiers. So visit patreon.com/Metal Forge Radio today and help support the Metal Forge. Rock on.